Imagine you're scuba diving in completely murky water.
Oh, yeah, never a good feeling.
Right. You're surrounded by barracudas. There's a massive school of fish completely blocking your view, and you have, absolutely no idea which way is up.
Complete sensory chaos.
Exactly. And according to the stack of research you sent us today, that feeling, that total sensory chaos, is exactly what using the internet is about to feel like.
It really is.
And trying to solve it by slapping an AI watermark on everything, that's basically like trying to read a waterproof map in the dark.
Yeah, it's a perfectly useless tool for the environment you're actually in.
Yeah.
And yet it is a tool everyone is demanding right now.
That's what everyone wants. So welcome to today's deep dive. We've got an incredibly dense, fascinating stack of philosophical frameworks today.
Very dense.
Authored by Jericho M. Davila, and it's centered around something called the Bridge360 Metatheory Model. And there's also a sequel in here titled ASI Engagement, Scientific Foundation of Hope. Now, just a quick note before we jump into this. We are exploring Davila's philosophical frameworks today to understand his perspective.
Of mapping out the arguments.
Right. We aren't endorsing these views or taking sides on how corporations handle AI, left or right, none of that. We're simply unpacking the arguments he's laid out. And I gotta say, the core argument here is radical.
It is truly radical. I mean, it completely reframes our relationship with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, because instead of trying to fix the internet by, labeling every single piece of synthetic media, Davila argues it's actually far more productive to just accept and live with AI lying to us.
What he calls LLM sophistry.
Yeah, LLM sophistry. He proposes that the only way to survive the AI age is through a complete overhaul of our educational philosophy. We need to shift our focus to building chaos navigators.
Yeah, chaos navigators. And to understand why watermarks are a dead end to him, we have to look at the underlying philosophy of why we even want them in the first place.
Which is what?
Well, for centuries, our entire approach to knowledge has been dominated by what this framework calls the truth-seeking paradigm.
Okay, the truth-seeking paradigm, which makes sense, right? I mean, if I'm buying a box of cereal, I want an accurate nutrition label.
Exactly.
If I'm reading an article, I want to know who wrote it. In that paradigm, knowing where something came from, its provenance, is basically a shortcut for deciding if we can trust it.
It is. It's epistemic policing, essentially.
Epistemic policing.
Yeah, we want to believe that if we just categorize the information correctly, if we just put the right warning labels on the box, we'll be safe.
Right. Human wrote it, guard goes down.
AI wrote it, guard goes up. The watermark is supposed to be our shield. But Davila argues we are moving out of that world and into the entropy attractor intelligence paradigm, or EAIP.
EAIP.
Right. And in this new reality, relying on a label is actually incredibly dangerous.
Okay, I have to push back a little here. Why is a label dangerous? Shouldn't we at least try to flag synthetic content? I mean, even a blurry map is better than no map when you're underwater.
Well, it's a fair question, but here is mechanically why that fails. In a highly chaotic system, a watermark isn't just blurry, it's fragile.
Fragile how?
First, malicious actors can simply reverse engineer or strip the watermark.
Sure, yeah.
But more importantly, the way we generate text now is hybrid.
Oh, right.
Imagine an AI drafts a paragraph. Then a human edits it, another AI translates it, a human tweaks the translation, and then a final AI summarizes the whole thing.
Wow, okay.
By the time that text reaches you, what does a watermark even mean?
I mean, it's like trying to pull a single drop of food coloring out of a blended smoothie.
Yes.
The binary of human versus machine just evaporates.
Precisely. It's totally gone. And this is why the Bridge360 framework argues that we cannot design an information society that only works when everything is correctly labeled.
Because the labels will always be wrong or incomplete?
Right. When visibility in that murky water approaches zero, the value of slapping another label on a fish drops to nothing.
Yeah.
Instead, you have to focus on internal competence. You don't label the fish. You teach the diver to watch the air bubbles to find their way to the surface.
Okay, so if I'm giving up on labels, what am I actually left with? Because the reality is I'm interacting with large language models that are notorious for, well, confidently making things up.
Yes, they do.
So if I'm not allowed to put a warning label on them, how do I deal with systems that are actively bending the truth?
So, to do that, you have to understand what an LLM actually is, historically and philosophically. Davila draws this incredible parallel between the AI of today and the intellectual battles of ancient Greece.
Oh, ancient Greece, okay.
Specifically, the clash between Socrates and the Sophists.
The Sophists, I remember them from Philosophy 101. They were the bad guys, right?
Kind of, yeah.
The guys who would argue that up is down just to win a debate.
They got a terrible reputation, largely because history was written by their rival Plato.
Oh, right. The winner writes the history.
Exactly. Socrates and Plato operated on what the framework calls a truth vector.
A truth vector.
They believed in absolute, immutable truth that existed independently of economics or politics or what was popular. You strip away contradictions until you find the ideal, regardless of the social consequences.
But the sophists weren't playing that game.
Not at all. The sophists operated on an entropy vector.
Okay, an entropy factor.
Yes, they were paid professionals, wandering teachers who had to survive in highly volatile, chaotic political environments.
Right.
Their goal wasn't transcendent truth. Their goal was persuasion, survival, and managing uncertainty for their clients. They were optimizing for the social systems of their time.
There's a line in the text that stood out to me. It outlawed the core sophist tenet. It says, "What is true may be made to appear false. What is false may be made to be true."
Yeah.
When I read that, it didn't sound ancient at all. It sounded exactly like someone bypassing an AI safety filter with a clever prompt.
That is exactly the parallel. Corporate-controlled LLMs today operate like the ancient sophists.
Wow.
They are not Socrates. They are not built to optimize for pure epistemic truth. They are optimizing for the market.
Right, they want to be liked.
They're optimizing for safety guardrails, for human preference alignment, and for perception management.
But wait, isn't calling it sophistry giving bad tech way too much credit?
What do you mean?
Well, if an AI tells me to put, non-toxic glue on my pizza to keep the cheese from sliding off, which actually happened recently, by the way.
Oh, I remember that.
It's not being a clever sophist. It's just broken, isn't it? It's just bad code.
It looks like bad code through the truth-seeking paradigm. But mechanically, under the EAIP, the entropy paradigm, it is doing exactly what it was designed to do.
Okay, explain that.
These models are what Davila calls entropy minimizing, attractor-sensitive systems.
That is a lot of syllables.
It is. But think about the pizza glue. The AI was likely pulling from a sarcastic Reddit thread.
Right.
The model mathematically determined that, based on its training data, suggesting glue was the most fluent, statistically probable response to the prompt.
It optimized for conversational fluency.
Exactly, not culinary reality.
So it's giving me what sounds plausible or what avoids triggering a safety filter rather than absolute reality.
Yeah.
It's just navigating the demands of its corporate creators and its training data.
Yes, and this is why getting angry at an LLM for hallucinating misses the point. Hallucination and sophistry aren't just bugs, they are the natural outputs of a system optimizing for fluent persuasion rather than absolute correspondence to reality.
Right.
Expecting an LLM to be an oracle of truth is like, it's like hiring a PR executive and getting mad that they aren't a theoretical physicist.
That is a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Okay, but if I'm buying into this idea that LLMs are modern sophists, how is this productive?
Right.
I mean, if I know my digital diving buddy is occasionally going to point me toward the bottom of the ocean instead of the surface, how does dealing with a lying machine actually help me?
This is where we look back to Socrates. Socrates didn't test his ideas in a vacuum, and he certainly didn't test them with perfect logic machines.
Right. He was out in the world.
He tested them on the streets of Athens, arguing with flawed, biased, and highly persuasive human interlocutors,
Concluding the actual sophists.
including the sophists.
So he used their flawed reasoning as a whetstone. He used the tension to sharpen his own mind. So the argument here is that we can use AI the exact same way.
Precisely. And to explain the mechanics of how this works, the Bridge360 Metatheory introduces something called Axiom 19.
Axiom 19.
Yes, Axiom 19 dictates that all reasoning operates within a selective frame.
Meaning?
There is no perfectly objective viewpoint. Everything is filtered by boundaries and assumptions. Therefore, the value of a dialogue partner isn't that they give you the perfect answer.
The value is how much they force you to defend your own answer.
Yes,
Yeah.
what the framework calls perturbation.
Perturbation.
In complex systems, perturbation is how you test resilience. You shake the system to see if it holds. And to understand how we build this resilience in humans, we have to look at another concept from the text, the rule of inference memetics, or RIM.
Okay, let's break that down, because when you say memes, I immediately think of, like, viral cat videos.
Sure, most people do.
What is inference memetics?
Well, in evolutionary biology, a meme is just a unit of cultural transmission. The rule of inference memetics proposes that logical rules, inferential norms, and ways of arguing are actually physical replicable memes.
Okay.
They are subject to evolutionary pressures. They survive, mutate, or go extinct within populations of minds.
So a specific way of winning an argument is a meme.
Yes,
And it survives because it's useful or highly persuasive, not necessarily because it's logically true.
exactly. And under this framework, sophistry is just a mimetic pathology.
A medic pathology.
It's a reasoning rule that spreads because it sounds incredibly convincing,
Yeah.
even though it is fundamentally detached from reality.
So by engaging with an LLM's sophistry, we're voluntarily exposing ourselves to these highly evolved, deeply persuasive, but totally flawed mimetic structures.
Yes, you are using the AI to stress test your own logical structures.
Oh, wow.
You are training your reasoning reflexes against flawed outputs. Instead of a watermark warning you to just turn your brain off because a machine wrote the text, the interaction itself becomes the workout.
You're in the mental gym.
Exactly.
Eh?
You learn to spot the exact moment the LLM shifts from valid inference to fluent hallucination.
But, I mean, if this is the new reality, traditional schooling isn't preparing kids for this at all.
Not even close.
If I throw a middle schooler into a chat window with a highly persuasive AI and say, good luck, be Socrates, they are going to get completely manipulated.
They will be entirely overwhelmed, yes.
So how do we actually train a child's brain for this?
That is the ultimate question, and it's where Davila lays out the Bridge360 philosophy of education.
Okay, how does that work?
It's described as an ordered stewardship thesis and a curricular spine corridor.
Whoa. Ordered stewardship thesis sounds like a massive mouthful. Are we basically just saying you can't run before you walk?
That's a very good way to put it, yeah. It means human cognitive development has to follow a rigid presuppositional sequence.
You cannot skip steps.
You cannot skip steps. The framework breaks this down into 3 distinct scaffolded stages, mapped to elementary school, high school, and college.
All right, let's walk through them. Stage 1, elementary school. The framework calls this semantic intake.
Right. The primary goal here is cultivating high-level reading comprehension. But it's fascinating because Davila frames this in terms of thermodynamics and information theory.
Thermodynamics for elementary schoolers.
I know it sounds intense.
How does that actually work in a third grade classroom setting?
Well, it's not that the third grader is doing thermodynamic equations.
Right.
It's a metaphor for how their environment should be structured. In thermodynamics, you have signal and you have noise. In a classroom, noise is distraction, cognitive overload, or poorly structured information. If a child's environment is too noisy, they can't absorb the signal, which is the pure meaning of the text.
Ah, I see.
Before you can navigate chaos, your brain must be physically capable of accurately parsing and holding meaning. If your semantic intake is corrupted at age 8, the whole system fails later on.
You literally have to know what the words mean before you can argue with the machine that wrote them.
Precisely.
That makes total sense. Okay, then we move to stage 2, high school, which focuses on inferential discipline.
Right. So once a student can absorb pure meaning, they have to learn the limits of reasoning. This stage acts as an error-correcting mechanism.
Error correction.
The student learns epistemology, how we know what we know, and, more importantly, how logic breaks down. They are taught to prevent their own cognitive system from jumping to false certitudes.
This is the Socrates training ground.
Yes.
This is where you learn to spot the sophist's tricks, whether they come from a politician or an LLM.
Exactly. You learn to identify the mimetic pathology we talked about earlier. And once you master that, you reach stage 3, which is college, and that is strategic navigation.
Strategic navigation. This is where you actually enter the murky waters of Bulacau.
Yes, the scuba diving.
Yeah.
Strategic navigation is about systems thinking. It's about managing entropy under complexity stress.
Complexity stress.
It's no longer just about understanding a text or spotting a logical fallacy. It's about taking that clean semantic intake, applying your inferential discipline, and then making high-stakes decisions in chaotic, multivariable environments where you simply do not have all the facts.
Which brings us right back to why watermarking is the wrong approach entirely.
Yes.
If you have a 12th grader who has mastered inferential discipline, they don't need a label to tell them an AI wrote a flawed argument.
No, they don't.
Their brain is already architected to spot the flaw itself.
Exactly. The Bridge360 approach fundamentally contrasts with existing educational models like Harvard Project Zero or the OECD Learning Compass 2030 because of this rigid sequencing.
You have to do it in order.
You can't achieve strategic navigation without first stabilizing inferential discipline. It treats human education as an open system optimization process designed to counter environmental entropy.
So if we look at the big picture here,
Hmm.
we've gone from scuba diving in murky waters to arguing on the streets of ancient Athens, and finally to fundamentally reimagining how we educate human beings.
It's quite a journey.
It really is. And the core takeaway from Davila's work seems to be a profound shift in where we place our trust.
Right. We have to stop placing our trust in external fragile systems like watermarks and provenance tools.
They're just Band-Aids.
They are fine as auxiliary instruments, like having a depth gauge on your scuba suit.
You're right.
But they cannot be the primary defense.
The defense has to be internal.
Always.
Living with LLM sophistry isn't just something we have to resign ourselves to. It's actually a more productive environment for building cognitive resilience. The ultimate defense against a flood of synthetic information isn't a better labeling system. It is a better, more resilient human mind capable of navigating when those labels inevitably fail.
And they will fail. I mean, the sheer volume of synthetic media ensures it. Our only way forward is to build chaos navigators.
Which leaves me with a final thought for you to chew on today. Think about this in the context of your own workplace or industry. Right now, we hire people based on what they know.
Right.
But if we are entering an era where AI already has all the knowledge and we adopt this Bridge360 philosophy, we will have to stop hiring for knowledge entirely.
That's a wild thought.
If the only thing that matters is someone's internal chaos navigation skills, their ability to spar with the sophisticated AI, spot mimetic pathologies, and make strategic decisions in murky waters, what does a job interview even look like 10 years from now?
It's going to be very different.
How do you prove your inferential discipline on a resume? It makes you wonder, when the water is perfectly murky, how are you going to prove, which way is up?